The Bell Witch, Terror in Red River. Introduction. In the early 19th century, the rural areas of Tennessee were still very remote and wild. It was here that the terrifying story of the Bell Witch began, a tale that has become one of the most famous ghost legends in the United States. What started as small disturbances in the Bell family home grew into a story of terror and death that haunts generations to this day. Part 1. The Bell Family and the Beginning of the Terror. The Bell family moves to Tennessee. John Bell, a successful farmer from North Carolina, decided to move his family to Red River, Tennessee, in 1804. Together with his wife, Lucy, and their children, John hoped to start a new life on more fertile land. The land they purchased covered over 300 acres, promising a prosperous future. The Bell family soon built a large house and began their life on the new land. They were known as a kind and respected family by their neighbors. Life went smoothly for several years until one day in 1817, when something strange began to happen. The first disturbances. Initially, the disturbances experienced by the Bell family seemed trivial. They heard knocking sounds on the walls and doors of their house at night. At first, they thought it was just wild animals or pranks from neighbors. However, the knocking continued and grew louder, even when there were no signs of people or animals outside the house. Soon, the disturbances evolved into something more frightening. Disembodied voices began to be heard throughout the house, as if someone was walking inside the house with heavy footsteps. Sometimes, the sounds resembled someone dragging metal chains across the floor. The first apparition. One dark night, Betsy Bell, the youngest daughter of the family, woke up feeling someone pulling her blanket. In the darkness of the room, she saw the faint shadow of an old woman with glowing red eyes, smiling malevolently. Betsy screamed, calling for her father. John Bell came running, but the shadow had already disappeared, leaving Betsy trembling in fear. Part 2. The Increasing Terror. The torture of Betsy Bell. Over time, the terror experienced by the Bell family intensified. Betsy became the main target of the entity that haunted them. Every night, she was slapped, pinched, and thrown by an invisible force. Bruises and welts began to cover her body, leaving the family desperate and terrified. Not only Betsy suffered, other family members also experienced physical and psychological disturbances. Plates flew and shattered without cause, furniture moved on its own, and disembodied voices uttered frightening threats. Their once peaceful home had become a constant place of terror. The arrival of visitors. News of the strange events in the Bell family home soon spread throughout the community. People began to come to see the inexplicable phenomenon for themselves. Some came out of curiosity, while others came to try to help the Bell family. One famous visitor was Andrew Jackson, who later became President of the United States. It is said that Jackson, upon hearing the story of the Bell Witch, decided to visit the Bell family home. When he and his entourage arrived, their carriage suddenly stopped and could not move. Jackson reportedly said, "I wonder if this is the Bell Witch," and immediately after, a disembodied voice replied, "You will know soon enough." Their carriage suddenly began to move again. Clearer apparitions. The Bell Witch apparitions became more frequent and clearer. Sometimes, the Bell family and their visitors saw the figure of an old woman with long hair and a face full of hatred. This woman, later known as Kate Batts, often laughed maliciously and and issued threats to the Bell family. This entity seemed to have the power to read minds and know the past and future of the people who interacted with it. This led many to believe that the Bell Witch was a very powerful evil spirit. Part 3. The mysterious death of John Bell. A mysterious illness. In 1820, John Bell began suffering from a mysterious illness that could not be explained by local doctors. He experienced seizures and paralysis in some parts of his body. Day by day, his condition worsened, and his family became increasingly worried. During his illness, the Bell Witch increasingly tormented John. Disembodied voices often mocked him, saying he would soon die. John Bell became very weak and eventually lay bedridden, unable to move or speak. The poisoned bottle. One bleak morning, John Bell was found lying lifeless in his bed, his face showing a deep expression of fear. Beside him was a small bottle containing an unknown liquid. When the liquid was given to the family cat, the animal died instantly. The disembodied voice of the Bell Witch then echoed throughout the house, laughing maliciously and claiming that she had poisoned John Bell. Finally, "My enemy has fallen." The voice resounded in the cold air, sending chills down the spines of all who heard it. John Bell's funeral. John Bell's funeral was attended by many people from the local community. During the funeral, the Bell Witch was said to be present, singing eerie songs, disrupting the ceremony, and making everyone uncomfortable. After John Bell's death, the terror in the Bell family home began to subside, but the scars it left behind never fully healed. Part 4. The Return of the Bell Witch. A promise to return. Before disappearing, the Bell Witch promised to return after 7 years. According to some reports, in 1827, the Bell family once again felt the presence of the malevolent entity, although with less intensity. Disembodied voices and minor disturbances haunted them for several weeks before finally disappearing, as if the Bell Witch was satisfied with the terror she had spread. Life after the terror. After the return of the Bell Witch, the Bell family tried to continue with their lives. They attempted to forget the horrifying events they had experienced and rebuild their lives. However, the story of the Bell Witch remained alive in their community and became part of local folklore. Descendants of the Bell family often recounted tales of their ancestors who were haunted by the Bell Witch. This story was passed down from generation to generation, keeping the legend alive. Many who heard the story felt both fear and fascination, creating a continued interest in the tale of the Bell Witch. Part 5. Interpretations and Theories. Supernatural Theories. Many people believe that the Bell Witch was an evil spirit or poltergeist. Some theories suggest that the entity might have been the spirit of a disgruntled neighbor, Kate Batts, who had a dispute with John Bell. Others propose that it was a manifestation of a curse or witchcraft performed by those who wished harm upon the Bell family. There are also those who argue that the Bell Witch was a manifestation of a greater supernatural power. They believe that this entity had the ability to read minds, know the past and future, and influence the physical world in ways that cannot be explained by science. Psychological and social theories. Some scholars approach the Bell Witch legend from psychological and sociological perspectives. They argue that the Bell family's experiences could be the result of mass hysteria, psychological trauma, or family dynamics. The intense focus on Betsy Bell has led some to consider the possibility of abuse or repressed emotions manifesting in the form of supernatural phenomena. Others suggest that the Bell Witch story might be the result of collective delusion or a strong belief in the supernatural. In the early 19th century, superstition and belief in ghosts and spirits were very common, and this might have influenced how people viewed the strange events occurring in the Bell family home. Folkloric and cultural significance. The Bell Witch legend is also examined as part of American folklore. It reflects the cultural context of the early 19th century, where superstition and belief in the supernatural were widespread.